The following is a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about them Cowboys?
Yeah! Go Cowboys!
This is Cowboys Storyline with Nick Eatman.
Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to Cowboys Storyline. I'm Nick Eatman. It's Thursday, May the 30th, and one of the final shows here of this off-season before we take a break. I think we'll go this today, obviously, and then we'll go tomorrow. Not tomorrow. I'm sorry, I'm out of it. Next week, we got 2 shows in early June, and then we're done until training camp hits, and then we'll see what happens. We'll see what Storyline in Oxnard looks like this year. It's definitely gonna be different than last year. We're looking to get some phone calls. At least that's the hope. And we'll see what time slot we get. Still like to get players on if we can. It's a good opportunity to do that out there in Oxnard. All right, Cowboys have an OTA practice today. Should be the final OTA practice. Next week is the mini camp. So this is their last OTA. It was the day for the media to be there at practice. And then also McCarthy held a press conference, and they'll have an open locker room here in about 45 minutes. It's 1 o'clock Central Time, so the open locker room will be here soon. And we'll see what happens there. I guess one guy that won't be in attendance in the locker room, who wasn't at practice today, is Micah Parsons. That's the big story. And sounds like McCarthy not too happy about it, but at the same time, you can qualify that by saying you always want your players there. I mean, that's why you have OTA practices, especially with a new defense, and you want your best defensive player to be there to help, figure out how Mike Zimmer wants to run this defense. And he's not there, then I'm sure it's not great for everyone. But I think he said the right things on. He's still confident that he will be ready to go and he's in good shape, and because he has been here. He's just wasn't practicing OTA. We'll see what he practices next week when the mandatory minicamp hits, and then we'll see if what kind of holdout or contract dispute, and that the same goes for CD as well. All right, let's go to the phone calls here. We'll start us off. Michael in Colton, California.
Hey, what's going on, Nick? And I just want to say, I know it's not over yet, this season, whatever, for radio talk and all that. But just, thank you guys for another, I'm a truck driver, so I'm out here on the road all day, man. You guys get me through my miles, man. It's going to suck, but it's also, it's great to know that football is right around the corner. We're coming back into training camp and all of that.
Yeah.
But also, I just want to say, I know I may be a little late on the subject, but I haven't called in a few weeks. Man, you're a popular guy, man. It's hard to get through, but man, I really like the schedule we're starting off with, man. The first 3 weeks, we have Cleveland starting off with, better than the boring New York Giants, So we start off with a contender, It's a good measuring stick to see where we're at, And then 2 weeks later, we got Baltimore. So I'm really looking forward to that strong schedule, starting off with, you know what I mean?
Right.
And then also, man, what's going on with Micah Parsons, man? I mean, I just, he's good. You can't take that from him. But I don't think that he's done anything significantly or anything so special where he's just, sitting out of these camps and this and that, because, I mean, when it's go time, a couple of times I think he's let us down as a fan base. But then again, at the end of the day, who cares? We're just the fans, and he's going to do what he wants to do. But I'll go ahead and hang up there, and thank you for taking my call. And once again, if I don't get through again for the season, thank you for another great season, man.
Oh.
You guys are doing a great job over there.
Thanks, Michael. Appreciate that.
Yes, sir. Bye.
Yeah, he's been Michael. You've been a guy that calls. Not only does he call a lot, but he gets first. I mean, I don't know how long you're holding, but he's always been first when he calls in. I don't know about the schedule, boring schedule. I mean, beating the Giants 40-0 wasn't that boring. Last year, you never know how these games and how these teams are going to be. I think Cleveland, though, will be a really good matchup because it'll be a tough place to play on the road, and they've got a pretty good defense. They got a really great defensive player. We know that. So, it'll be Watson, Amari Cooper, and Nick Chubb's supposed to be back. So, man, that's going to be a big challenge there if they're healthy and all of their weapons are in place. As for the Micah, I'm probably a little bit more in the middle there. He has done some significant things, and we all know football's a business, and when the guy gets cut, we say it all the time, football's a business. Well, then if it's a business when the guy gets cut, it should be a business all the time. And this is a business decision for him that he wants to do, and I can't fault him for that. I think he's earned that. I mean, this is where the NFL allows you, after your third year, you can start negotiating, you can get a new contract. And so if this is part of his negotiation, then it is what it is. I mean, as long as he's ready to go when it counts. And the thing is while you guys are saying, well, maybe he won't be ready and this is hurting the team and all that, but he's the most competitive player I remember the Cowboys having in a long time. So he will get himself ready to play. I've never seen a player more upset after a win, if he didn't feel like he played his best game. So he's not going to let things slide. I mean, he'll get himself ready to go. This is what I guess he feels like, and his agent feels like is the smart move for him. I don't really fault him for that just yet. Did you fault Zach Martin when he did what he did? I mean, continuity on the offensive line is pretty important as well. And so I don't remember that happening as much either. He earned the right to do that, and it worked out for him. He had to get some fines there for missing practice in training camp. And right now, Micah hasn't gotten to that level. So let's just wait and see what happens there. All right, Brian in Kansas City's next.
Hey, Nick, how are you?
Good, man. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Glad to be off for the summer and able to call in again, but obviously it's almost time for y'all to have your break.
Yeah.
I'm sure you're looking forward to just like I'm looking forward to my summer break. I'm sure you are too.
Sure, definitely. What do you got?
Well, I got two things for you today. So, besides, I think everybody has kind of made some assumptions about what the top three draft picks roles are. Everybody kind of looks at BB and Guyton as the offensive lineman of the future, hopefully starting this year.
Right.
And Nealon, everything I've heard about him is he's more tank than Micah, but probably the tank replacement, the guy that's going to the bigger guy that's going to handle the run and kind of do that kind of dirty work that Tank has done over the years. So I was wondering, who are you excited to see outside of those top three guys where we don't know where they fit yet? We're not sure where the linebackers. I don't know how to pronounce his name, so maybe you can tell us.
Maris Leofau, Leofau, and
Kalen Carson, I'm excited. He kind of he didn't run the same kind of 40 time, but I'm excited about maybe we got an Anthony Brown in the rough, going into that one and Flournoy and just who are you excited to see?
Yeah.
And Kalen Carson's the one for me. That's the one I want to see what he can be. I'm glad we signed J. Lou for one more year, as to make sure we don't have to throw a rookie out there and hope for the best. But and then my old-time Cowboy, this was a guy who was probably universally hated for the first couple of weeks of the year for no other reason than the fact that he wasn't Emmitt Smith. But maybe you have a story on, I know it was before your time, but maybe you have a story on Derek Lassick. And I'll hang up and listen, man, and I hope you enjoy your time off.
All right. Appreciate it. Thanks, Brian. I don't really have a Derek Lassick story. Like you said, I didn't cover him. It was before I got here, and, it's not – with Lassick, it was one of those cases, unfortunately, it's not what he was, it's what he wasn't. And who he wasn't, and he wasn't Emmitt Smith, and not many people were. It's a really tough thing to happen for him. You getting compared that way, but Emmitt was I don't know about holding out, because that's not really the right term in '93, because he didn't have a contract, but it was a contract dispute, and he wasn't on the team, and so they started a rookie, Derek Lassick, and they were 0-2, defending champs. That got Jerry's attention enough to get Emmitt his deal, and they went off and won the Super Bowl. Emmitt was MVP, and the rest is history. And I I can't tell you I know a whole lot about what happened to Derek Lassick after that, so I really don't. But he's significant because of what he couldn't do, and that's kind of unfair. So any rookie going to come in and try to be and replace the MVP. That right there. But I'll say this about Derek Lassick. I'm kind of going off on a tangent here, but it's a reminder when people say, well, anyone could have run behind that line. I mean, that line was amazing. Emmett's not the greatest because look at the line and look what Barry Sanders had and all that. And that's true. Just know this. When Emmett missed games, they didn't win. They didn't win in 93 early in the year. He got hurt, missed 2 games middle of the season or, down by Thanksgiving. And he was hurt and they wasn't playing a lot. They didn't win. I mean, when he missed games, it was a significant blow. So it's not like anybody was just coming in here and running. Certainly not Derek Lassick, and Sherman Williams. Not really. I mean, Emmett was a difference maker there too. So I don't think, as great as he is, I still don't think he gets enough credit sometimes for the things that he was able to do with that offensive line. I think they made each other better. Let's go to a text question here. Jason Hartzog, he's in Oklahoma. With the uncertainty at defensive tackle, it looks like Mike Zimmer is building for the 3-4 with all the linebackers. What do you think? I don't know about building for that. I mean, Zimmer's coached it before when Parcells was here. And I think towards the end of Minnesota, I think he did a little variations there. If you have the players to do it, Anthony Barr, is one of those type of guys that could do it. He had big tackles and Linval Joseph and stuff like that where you were able to do that. So it's not just about the linebackers. I mean, linebackers is a big part of it. You got to have those inside guys. You got to have those outside rushers. I think they have that with Micah Parsons and Sam Williams. I think could play that. The interior, though, I don't know. Like I don't know if you've got a true nose tackle. And to go back onto what Brian said, his question on which player are you looking at kind of later half of the draft. Justin Rogers is the guy that I look at. He's got a great opportunity. I know he's a 7th-round pick from Auburn, but, so was Jay Ratliff, and I know that was almost 20 years ago. But, I mean, Rogers is a guy where he's gonna plug the middle. I mean, that's his job. Clog on that inside, don't get pushed around, and he'll get some opportunities there with Mozzie Smith, injured right now. So I'm anxious to see what Justin Rogers can do. For sure. And Leofau is another guy too. I think when you think about that, when you let your defensive coordinator, I didn't say he made the pick, but he was probably really, helpful in making that decision, then, he has it in his mind, this is the type of guy of what I'm looking for. And usually when that happens, you get a pretty good fit. And that's what I think Leofau could be for Zimmer and this defense. All right, let's go to Travis in San Antonio.
Hey, Nick, what's going on?
Hey, Travis.
It's been a couple weeks. I was on a trip. I was kind of treating this like Micah Parsons with the just not showing. I just figured the last couple weeks are voluntary. Let some of the other guys get some reps. And it sounds like we got some new calls.
There you go. There you go. Yeah, appreciate that. Now are you looking for your big payday now that you're back?
No. I'm showing up, back to work, back to business. Treat next week like since it's the last week, like you said, mandatory minutes. So everyone that's on the StoryLine team better call in next week.
It's gonna be
mandatory.
There you go. All right, you're calling out. Travis is calling them out.
So yeah, I just wanted to call and ask you. Nothing major to talk about today. I know the Dak stuff. That was just an interesting comment. I wanted to hit that just real quick. And I know this is hypothetical and it's kind of, shoulda, woulda, coulda. But I know thinking back to it, I was just thinking about it after he said that, and it has nothing to do with we all know the not playing for, I don't play the game for is kind of BS or whatever you want to call it, which that goes across the board. I'm not just saying it's just for Dak. It's anybody that says that, it's kind of BS. But I was trying to think about the situation they're in right now with CD, Micah, and Dak. And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think when they were negotiating with Dak the first time, the Cowboys side, they were pushing hard for a 5-year, right?
Right.
Is that correct?
Right.
Am I remembering that correct?
Right.
And he kept turning on the 5th year out, the 5th year down.
Yeah, he wanted a 4-year deal.
Yeah. So, and I mean, that's kind of the first, right? That's kind of the first thing, because the whole method we all know behind that is like you want to get back to the negotiating table so you can get paid again. So that kind of throws the whole I don't play for money out of the window. But I was thinking about that, and I was just trying to think. Obviously, they don't have a crystal ball necessarily. They didn't know they were going to stumble into Micah or what he was going to become. And then CD wasn't really on the trajectory that he is now, but now you have this situation. And I was just wondering, like, imagine just in a world where it is a perfect world scenario, but like if he had signed a 5 or 6 year deal, how much easier this year and the next year would be to kind of stagger those deals. It probably would have made it like a billion times easier, but it's kind of, here. It's here. It's not going to happen. So it is what it is. But I just thought about that and was kind of curious, like what you thought, if they had been able to do that. And then the last one I'll let you go is going into, I know it's way early, but going into training camp, just training camp and preseason, if you had to pick 2 players as your offensive and defensive MVPs, who would you pick? And I have my 2.
Dak and Micah?
Okay.
I mean, it's just –
I have two different ones.
Well, it's cheating. I mean, like, go ahead. Who are your 2?
I think with the added ball, I think DeMarvion's going to have a really great training camp and preseason. I think he's going to be the guy that people are talking about. And then the other one, the sneaky one, he made plays last year, and he's also, ironically, both these guys are coming off the ACL. But I think John Stevens is kind of poised to have a surprisingly good camp where people are like, wow, where did this guy come? Like, people are going to start looking up and where'd they find this dude?
Yeah.
So those are my 2 guys.
Okay, and thanks for the call, Travis. Maybe we could have worded it differently too, where which just even the guys you picked, breakout players or surprising players. But when I look at MVP, I want the best players to be the most valuable, because if Dak is the most valuable player, then that means all the receivers and everyone else is probably doing their job too, and they're gonna benefit from it. Same with Micah. If Micah's the best player, because we think he's the best player, and if he has the best camp, that's great. Now for if you would have said like breakout players or surprising guys like that, that's great. It's always hard for linebackers to have great training camps. I mean, they're not tackling anybody, or at least they won't for long. If they're out there trying to tackle, so. You want them to get the hands on interceptions, get in right position, look like we're going to make the tackle, be quick to the ball. Yeah, I mean, I'm sure Sean Lee had good training camps and things like that, but it's kind of hard to be like a true difference maker there at linebacker. But I like the John Stevens pick too. I mean, he's added a lot of bulk to his frame. It was a little different last year because they weren't sure who was going to be the guy. Schoonmaker, Ferguson, is he going to take that leap? Ferguson's the guy now. We know that, and I think Schoonmaker's the clear number 2. I mean, that's where he's going to be. So there's still going to be room for John Stevens to jump in there and maybe compete with the Hendershots and Princeton Fant and is it Brevin Span? I get his name mixed up. He's got 3 of them. The Minnesota rookie, Spanford, maybe or something like that. I should know that. But I know he's the guy they're excited about. We'll see if he can get in there and get in the mix too. Brevin Spanford, I believe is his name. All right, let's go. Well, he asked the question about Dak, if Dak would have had a 5th or 6th year. I mean, yeah, with it, if and would have, could have, all that stuff. That the interesting part about the comment about I don't play for money, you could make an argument for it in one thing he did. I guess it was like 4-5 years ago when he had about $34 million a year, 33, 34 on the table. And he decided to not do the deal. He was looking for 40. Well, he did not sign the deal, and he played on his regular contract, which was $2 million. So let's say he was going to do 34, and he went for 2, so he lost $32 million. Now, the next year he ended up getting the $40 million a year for the next 4 years. But if you do the math, he was down $32 million with what the decision he made, and then you made an extra $6 from the bear with me here, from $34 million what the contract was, and he got a $40 million. So 6 times the 4 years is $24 million, but he lost $32 million by not taking the $34 million deal and only playing for 2. You know what I mean? So you could say, well, yeah, he doesn't play for money. I mean, he's playing for long-term money. And so it's a business, guys. I think we all know what he meant by that, but still, if it gets into some really deep negotiations, that comment's going to keep coming back and say, well, it doesn't. Well, why isn't this done? If you don't really play for money, so he'll probably have to answer that again. I would imagine a couple more times. All right, Lewis in Langston, Oklahoma.
Hey, what's going on?
What's up, man?
Not much, man. I was talking to Chris in the back, man. You dodged all the tornadoes and heavy winds and rains?
We did. Texas was feeling like Oklahoma. It's what you guys have to deal with all the time.
Yes. We're constantly prepared. It's ridiculous.
Yeah.
I was telling him my dad when I was younger, he used to just sit on the front porch with a beer and just watch it. And I'm like, dude, what is wrong with you?
Yeah.
But,
yeah.
It's entertainment for some people.
Not me. Not entertainment. All right. No. What do you got, man?
Not much, man. I just was calling. I was really kind of thinking, what you got planned for your vacation? Because we're going to try to take our kids down to Disney this year and see how that works out. So what you got planned for your month off? You don't got to talk football for a little while.
We're still working through some stuff. We're not doing the Disney thing yet. Not that brave. But no, we'll. I think we're gonna find a lake or something like that. But we'll see. I still haven't figured it all out. But
there you go.
Yeah. But no, we still. We're not there yet. We still got this week, and we got mini camp next week. So there'll be a lot of good storylines, if you will, to talk about here. So
what you? Well, okay. So I was sitting there thinking, though, with OTAs, I know they're not going to do a whole bunch of hitting, but who are you excited to watch? Is it the rookies? Because I'm kind of looking at the second and third years and seeing how they kind of progressive, how have they progressed, and see how that goes, and try to see how if anybody is making any strides or any moves or not making any moves is really where I'm trying to see. Is there anybody that you particularly trying to keep your eye on?
Like free agent wise?
Rookies, free agents. I mean, just going into the second and third year, because we know the rookies is going to really be, everybody's going to be trying to see what they're going to be doing.
Yeah, we did a series on this, like probably a month ago on the website, called the Next Man Up series, and it was basically all second and third year players. This is their free agency. This is what they did. They didn't go and get players really in free agency other than a couple.
Right.
So this is what they're leaning on. This is what they're counting on. So those guys, I mean, I think the captain of that squad is Sam Williams. I mean, the 2 defensive ends gone. Sam Williams is the guy now. Tolbert's up there. I mean, Mozzie Smith should be up there. Schoonmaker. We're talking about guys that haven't had a lot of opportunity. This is their time. Brock Hoffman could be that guy. T.J. Bass, maybe Awesome Richards, Nashawn Wright, Wanye Thomas. I would throw him in there. I'm really high on him. Wanye Thomas, I believe, is a really good playmaker. I think he could be like the next Donovan Wilson. Donovan Wilson was a 6th-round pick, and he got another contract. I think Wanye Thomas plays a same type of style as Donovan Wilson.
Yeah. Well, what's the timetable on Mozzie? I mean, he's got the shoulder thing. Is it mini camp? I mean, a training camp most likely.
Should be.
We'll probably start seeing something out of him.
That's what I would think. Is training camp would be. We won't see anything out of him until we get to camp, and then it'll be interesting. Does he start out on the PUP, the PUP list, or and works himself off of that into practice? I mean, ideally, you'd like for him to be ready to go in practice. He needs as much practice as he can. He needs as much coaching as he can. in this style from Zimmer. And he need this offensive line is good. I mean, we'll see what the center but that looks like. But I mean, Mozzie's going to go up against guards. He's going to go up against Zach Martin and Tyler Smith. I mean, you're not going to find as much consistent competition in a game as you would for practice. So Mozzie Smith being in practice is vital because of who you're going to go up against.
Yeah, and then Schoonmaker, he's coming off of shoulder surgery. I mean, I have nothing against the kid. I don't think anything's wrong with him. Ferguson showed us everything that he wanted coming in the last couple of years. So I mean, I think one. But do you think he's going to be a consistent 2, or are we looking at 3? Because I know they got the rookies.
Yeah.
Brevin Spence Ford, and then the young man that tore his ACL last year. He was making a lot of good. Because honestly, I think he might have been tight end number 2 if he didn't get hurt.
Right. Well, I think John Stevens was having a nice camp. Let's don't go crazy and think he would have been number 2, because the thing is that he did add a lot of weight this summer. So he was elite. He looked like a receiver, like a big receiver. Now he looks like a athletic tight end, and which is fine, which is what you want him to be. I think he still had some growing to do. It's always about expectations. It's always Schoonmaker. You could say, well, he didn't have a great year. Like he played as much as any other draft pick. He was probably was out there more than any other draft pick, but you have so much high expectations for him that people think Jalen Brooks actually had a better rookie season than Schoonmaker when he played 6 games and maybe caught 3 passes and whatever. I mean, or TJ Bass or Hunter Lipke. But the reality of it is, I think Schoonmaker had more snaps than anybody. It's just about
he played well. I just the consistency,
the expectations,
of being a tight, expectations. Yeah,
and it's the same. It's the same on the flip side. I mean, if John Stevens, who no one had heard of, catches 3 passes in a practice, then you're like, watch out for this guy. And now, but you know what happens is so that his bar was low. So it's all going to be the expectations are higher for Stevens now, even though he still hasn't played in the game.
All right, Lewis. No, I'll take it easy now.
All right, thanks. Appreciate it. Have a good one. Let's keep it rolling here. Let me get a text question in from Michael from Maryland. What's the biggest difference you expect to see from the defense this year? I hope we can finally stop the run consistently. That needs to be the answer. That needs to be the biggest difference. If not, it'll probably be more of the same. It can't just be guys that are trying to get sacks all the time. It needs to be more of a commitment against the run. Stay in your lane, stay in the gaps, and then the linebackers have to step up and make plays. We talked about the downside last week or earlier this week. We talked about the downside of that could be going up against tight ends. Maybe you're not having as great of a mismatch if you got bigger guys committed to the run. So something's always got to give, but to me, stop the run. Get that run stopped because, you might have a problem on 3rd and 7, but you know what else? You know who else is going to have a problem on 3rd and 7? That offensive tackle that's trying to block Micah Parsons and tank around the edge. The more you can put the opponent on 3rd and long with these pass rushers, the better, especially the way Zimmer likes to call plays. So, get that run stopped and, play action on first down is going to be a killer. It's going to be tough because if you're trying to stop the run, first down, typically a run down, play actions could be an issue there. So, but that's to me that's the biggest thing that's got to change, and you were right on it when you said it, Michael. All right, Irene in Virginia. Irene.
Hey, how you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, good. Chris told me I was number 1, but I hung up too early. I mistimed it. That's okay. I got to Jeff Heath in my attempts to make up for my mistake.
Nice.
But I got in. Hey, that's cool. So, anyway, keeping it light today, I was thinking about, earlier in the off season, there was some family drama with certain players and whatever, but I wanted to give some shout-outs to some of our newest members of Cowboys Twitter, which the Beebe family. They are awesome. I hope their son is as cool as they are. But they're really interacting with fans. I love that. And Dawn Elliott, she's back as the mom of Cowboys Nation. I love it. But
Right.
she can give as good as she can take.
Right.
She loves people, but if you fight her, she'll fight back, and I appreciate that too.
Right.
But I was wondering, from your perspective, if you have like a favorite moment with, it doesn't have to be a mom or dad, but a relative of a player and a story about that. Of course, for me, my favorite was the Mrs. Hearns with
Yeah.
with poor.
Yeah, I got one. So in 2006, when Tony Romo took over as the starter, it was lightning in a bottle. I mean, this team was 3-3. He comes in. I think they win 5 out of 6 or something like that. And he's, they should have won the game that they lost. And I mean, he was playing great. And all of a sudden, this offensive line that couldn't block anyone is now, not even giving up any sacks. And just the difference that Romo made was very, very clear. And I wrote that column, and how exciting it was. Everyone was excited, except for the Bledsoe family. And I got a letter in the mail. No, it was an email. I got an email from, I think it was Drew Bledsoe's dad, Mac Bledsoe. I think it was Mac. And I think it was 4,000 words. 4,000 words.
No.
Yeah. Yeah. That's a lot of words. That's a couple chapters in a book.
Wow.
Literally. And still working on that actually, by the way. I'm about 3,000 words in. I guess I got to get to the end. No. But it was basically how dare you say that about my son? My son is great, and Romo he's just a flash in the pan, and he's never gonna be this and that and that. And it was like, oh,
whoops.
Yeah, right. So
that didn't turn out well.
Right, but it was the dad. It was a protective dad against his son, and while I was kind of taken back by it, it's funny how we see these guys as professional athletes and millionaire quarterbacks and whatever, but at the end of the day, they're still somebody's son, and they have a mom and dad who calls them by a nickname or whatever, and there was some realness to that, and we kind of joked about it like, wow, this long email, but now as a parent. I wasn't at the time, but as a parent, you get it. You kind of see it a little bit differently. But when you ask the question, and I don't think I've ever told that story on the air, but yeah.
That's a good question, then.
Right. But one thing, so Drew Bledsoe's dad, sent a message. I mean, after the Tom Brady roast, Drew Bledsoe can take it. Okay. I mean, he got plenty. He got as much as some of the other guys did on that thing. And if you're a kid, that thing didn't exist. Don't even try to look for it. So, yeah.
Fair enough. That's
right.
Awesome. Hey, one other thing that I need Chris's help on this. So I've been waiting to say this till it's not like in the middle of the season or any important time. I was actually on the show. If you recall, the first time I ever called, there were like 3 or 4 of us new people who called for the first time in a while. Like, you had your regulars. And then the person who called right after me was the first Mario Brothers sound. So I have either gotten that or Here We Go. So if you don't mind, I'd love to have them.
What about a Jimmy Johnson? Can we?
Yes, give me Jimmy. Yes.
All right, we can give you all 3 actually. Okay.
Oh wow.
All right.
Okay.
All right, Irene. Thanks for the call, Chris.
Bingo!
And Jimmy. Nope.
The only thing other than that I've got to say, how about them Cowboys?
Wow. I mean, all right, Irene, thanks for the call. Appreciate it. Man, just hearing that again, the passion in his voice when he says that, it's almost like he thought he would have been in the Ring of Honor like 30 years ago and just had to wait forever. That's what it sounded like when he did that. All right. David in Fort Worth.
Hey, how you doing, Nick?
Hey, I'm good. You sent a text, but then you called. You got in. Good. I'd rather listen to the question than to read.
Yeah, man. I couldn't let Travis call us out like that, man. I'm sitting here. I'm talking a little low because I have my son sleeping on my chest, and I went to go grab my headphones immediately. I was like, no, I got to call in. He can't call us out like that.
No headphones. No headphones. Let him listen. Let him listen. We don't have cuss words on here. We can be soothing. Like, keep this thing going. We want to develop young storyliners. All right, that's what we want. So you know what? You can just keep it going. All right, you don't have to turn the. Well, hold on. There are a couple of callers that call in, and when they call in, it's so loud. I get it. Yeah, so it's all good.
Yeah, man. But no, I just wanted to touch a little bit on the Micah thing. A lot of people keep talking about him, and I kind of want to shed like a different perspective. Maybe I'm not super young. I'm 33. I'm not super young, but I'm also not like old enough to remember the Super Bowls.
Right.
So I'm a little bit in the middle, and I just think that maybe this younger generation, like the players, they have just different ways of doing things. You know, they hire their own coaches, their own trainers. They kind of do their own thing and blah, blah, blah. And, Micah's still very young. He's still going to be able to develop. And a lot of people say, like I believe the first caller, was a great caller, but he mentioned that, he hasn't really shown up when we want him to. But, his career's not over yet. You know what I mean? Like he's still out there. He's still out there grinding. We're hoping that one day he will be able to make those plays. You know what I mean? So, I'm just kind of going to have faith in that and hope that he can turn it around. And as far as the contracts and everything like that goes, I know that some of the callers like to really stress about it and stuff. And for me, I'm like, I do have faith in Jerry and Steve and all of them. In hindsight, you can look back and be like, oh, that was dumb, but we don't really know. You know what I mean? I like to trust them and let them do their thing. So, and I also want to say that I do try to get in every once in a while, but sometimes I'm like, I don't really have much to add, man. You got some great callers, and I don't want to just come in and tie up the line. So whenever I do, I try to make sure I could bring it, you know what I mean? So I appreciate it, brother.
Well, I appreciate that. That's a good perspective. Thanks for the call. And yeah, you know what? I mean, sometimes you don't want to participate. You just want to listen. You don't want to have things to say. That's one thing that I really wanted to develop from this show is that because a lot of times people will say this, fans will call in or they'll just, if you're at work, you're saying, is it me or does this guy look, lighter this year or look quicker or am I the only one who thinks this or whatever? And that's what the show kind of is like, there's a guy in Kansas City who thinks exactly like a guy in Colton, California or in Vegas or wherever, Fort Worth. And that's what's really neat about it is that, and you see, you do have different perspectives, or no, you're seeing exactly what other people are seeing. So that's the beauty of this show to me is tying some of that stuff in together. All right, let's go to another. I got another text question. Nope, we're done. From that. All right, Jonathan in Fullerton, California is our next caller.
Hey, Nick, can you hear me?
Yeah, man. How you doing?
Good. I just want to say thank you for being the hero of the Dallas Cowboys podcast network, going through like crazy weather I'm seeing over there, and you trudged through all of it just to give us fans content, so I want to applaud you.
Thank you, but let me clarify, okay? My show's at 1. The power went on at 12:15. I mean, it wasn't like I was like, hurdling over trees or riding my bike and barefoot and all that stuff. No, the power came on. Talking Cowboys and the break were supposed to be on Tuesday, and they would have had great shows. And it just we couldn't do it without power. We're not there yet to do it without power. And we were about to cancel, and then all of a sudden the power comes on and we do the show. So thank you for saying that, but I didn't do anything different than some of these others. It just kind of it's the time slot that I have. Sometimes the time slot hurts me. Sometimes it helps, and that time it did.
Right. And humble on top of all of that. That's fantastic.
Humble-ish.
I just had kind of a vague question. I'm sure people have been talking about Micah and his basketball attendance and all that stuff.
Right.
But I just want to ask, when do you think, because after all of this not much involvement in the off season and everything with the front office, fans being upset, when do you think is a fair timeline for people can then say, okay, maybe the decisions they made were not great. Maybe they were good, because a lot of people are just saying, like, patience. Just wait for this to happen, wait for this to happen, blah, blah, blah. You just keep telling us to wait. Not just you, but, like, everyone's saying just wait. When is a fair, like, timeline? You say, okay, now we can assess what has happened, what hasn't happened, and we can, like, make our judgments or say our opinions.
You're not going to like the sound of this, but, I mean, week 5.
Week 5?
I think. Week 5 of the season. I mean, okay, give me an example. Just give me an example of one thing that fans are uneasy about and they're criticizing the Cowboys about for not doing this year. Give me
the running back. I'll say.
Okay. I mean, I say week 5, but if it's week 1 and Zeke rushes for 75 yards and a touchdown and Rico Dowdle had 67 yards and Deuce Vaughn had 40 yards all-purpose or whatever it is, and I'm just throwing out those 3 guys. It could be different guys, but, you know, if that happened, you'd be like, oh, okay, that was pretty good. Pretty good committee there, you know? Or maybe in week 2, Rico Dowdle surprises, comes off the bench and gets 97 yards rushing, you know, and Zeke has a couple of touchdowns, short yardage and all that. I mean, so that's my point. That's what they're hoping for. That's what they're counting on. And so the answer is when the season starts. Just when the season starts. You can't ever judge anything in the practices. You can't judge, you know, it's not like the scouts are telling you what's going on. Yeah, you've got some media guys saying this guy looked good, whatever. But we've all been fooled by that. It's when the season starts. And I'll just say this. Jason Witten, like, he had like a busted spleen in 2012. He got hit in a preseason game by Rolando McClain, and he's gonna like a ruptured spleen, and so he's not gonna play the first game, right? Well, he ends up playing the first game and the second game, and he was terrible. I mean, he was not good at all. But he ended up setting the all-time record for catches in an NFL season by a tight end. He had like 112. He turned it around. So my point is that it's hard to see, even early in the year, how things are going to go. You would have said week 4, CeeDee Lamb's over here crying at San Francisco and pouting like a little kid, and all of a sudden he's going to end up with 135 catches? I didn't see that. So, yeah, there's a reason why we say patience. It's a long, long season. The guy that wins the New York Marathon probably wasn't leading right off the bat. Maybe he was. Maybe he was. I know nothing about marathons. I don't know. I'm just saying.
Right.
It's a long thing. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Well, thanks, Jonathan. Let's go to Anthony in Miami. That'll be our last caller. Anthony.
What's going on, Nick the Quick?
I can always tell it's your phone.
It's my phone? Oh, I'm outside, man.
Nah, you're good. You're good. What's up, man?
I'm good right now?
Yeah,
nah, niggas got my phone all the time. No, man, we'll close out the show, man. Took a little minute off, man, to actually listen to some calls, you know, outside of calling. You learn a lot that way, basically, and see how some of the Cowboy fans feel, you know. So my thing is on 4 Cowboys I'm just looking forward to. We'll make this one quick. Right. I'm just looking for these 4 Cowboys to show out. I'm looking for Rico Dowdle, Juwan Thomas, Israel Mukuamu, and Jalen Tolbert. Those are my 4 pet guys, my pet cats. I want those guys to show out, and I want those guys to contribute heavily. And I believe with all our guys and our superstars and whatever, they contribute heavily, it'll be a good season, no matter what the schedule looks like. So that's all it was, Nick. Just something quick today.
That's good. No, that's good. Thanks for the call, Anthony. And before I answer that, you said something that you learn a little bit from the fans. I'll say the same thing. I mean, I've learned a lot from this show and doing it now for, you know, almost a full year. I've learned a lot, and it's and I understand, you know, the dynamics. It's supposed to kind of maybe be the other way around or whatever, and I'm sure, you know, from stories or just insight perspective, you guys have learned some too and learned something from each other, but that's what the fun part about it is that there's a, you know, a lot of things that you know, you understand where the fans are coming from. I've been reconnected to the fan base and their frustrations, and I get it. It's not like I needed this show to understand that, but it's hit even more. I like where you're going with this, because with what you said, 4 guys that he needs to really step up, because this team has to have that to be successful. They got some frontline stars. They got to get them in camp and get them signed and happy or whatever. But we all think that's going to happen. But you still need more. They need more Deron Bland development type guys like that. So if Rico Dowdle and Wanye Thomas and Israel Mukwamu and Jalen Tolbert, if those 4 guys take that next leap, some of them in their 3rd year. Most of these guys are in their 3rd year, maybe 4th for Rico, but he's been hurt some. So about all 3-year guys. If they take that big leap and add them into the mix of the others, that's the type of team that can be a really successful team. And I like those 4 guys. Tolbert would help your receiving core, give you another weapon there. Rico Dowdle gives you a lot of help in the running game. Wanye Thomas is a playmaker there in the secondary. Mukwamu would be the same way, be able to match up some. I keep talking about going up against tight ends. These 2 guys could probably do that really well. So if that happens, I think that's a really good call, Anthony, because that's thinking next level. Yeah, I need Parsons, I need Dak, I need CD, I need Zach Martin, I need Zeke to play well, and Ferguson to have another year, Diggs, Deron, do all that thing, Tank off the edge, who's going to be a linebacker, all that. But then you need more. And you need I like these 4 guys. You could probably name 3 or 4 more. Really good stuff. All right, let's finish the show here, because we got to get to the locker room. It's been you guys had a lot of good callers here, good text messages. Appreciate that. We're going to come back next week. Stay tuned to the schedule with practice there. Might alter some of the shows. We'll see if we can go here at the same time slot, but we'll try to go get 2 shows in, and next week will be the last week of all of the podcasts before we take a summer break heading into training camp. For Chris Beam, Josh Rodriguez back there working, I'm Nick Eatman. We'll see you next time on Cowboys Storyline.
This has been a production of DallasCowboys.com and the Dallas Cowboys Football Club.
How about this, Cowboys? Yeah!